a kid.
One of those Bay Area fans was Exodus guitarist Kirk Hammett.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was the most original, heaviest, fastest thing I had ever seen in my life.
By the time Metallica returned to Los Angeles, tensions within the band were building. Dave Mustaine's drinking was getting out of hand.
There was always some clashing between Ron and Dave. Ron couldn't hang. He didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Ron was soon out, and Metallica was in the market for a new bassist.
Lars had asked me, they were kind of looking around for another bass player, and he asked me if I knew anybody. I said, well, why don't you guys come down and see this band Trom at the Troubadour? They're pretty cool. I think you might like the bass player.
When I first saw Cliff Burton, I'd never seen anybody quite like him on stage.
And his head banging on stage, I mean, nobody banged like him. It was insane. I remember the first time I saw them play with him, I was like, oh my God, look at that guy.
The next day after a performance, he'd get up and, oh God, my neck, I can't understand. Cliff, what do you mean? Your neck, you're bouncing your head up and down all night long, and you wonder why your neck hurts. So anyway, he kind of smiled.
You know, after 6 months of courting him, it just came to the point where he would join the band on that one condition, which was if we wanted him in the band, Metallica goes to Northern California.
LA sucks!
We really had no problem with that. LA wasn't treating us very well at all.
Metallica moved to San Francisco in the spring of 1983 and rented a small house in El Cerrito. These were lean times for the band, but they had found a home for their unique brand of metal.
We'd just move all the furniture out of the house and invite 50 headbanging friends over, put Venom on the stereo, and just thrash the place, you know?
By the time you walk in the club, we just be like, metal rules! That guy's got a blonde stripe in his hair. Kill him, kiss that Motley Crue creep. You know, it's like, man, at one point we were tearing people's shirts off that said bands we didn't like.
There was kids with denim jackets on that had Metallica patches on the back, and the support band was playing, and they turned around, they turned their backs on them, and we're standing there doing this, you know? And it's like, wow, they're loyal to us. They're our people, you know?
Coming up, hard rock hits hard times in New York City.
We didn't have a lot of money. Just a piece of bologna on your hand and just eat it.
Loser's lunch, we called it. It was bologna on hand because they didn't even have white bread.
And a tragic crash threatens to derail the band's success.
And I heard everyone screaming except for Cliff.
And later, Metallica's future almost goes up in flames.
A big colored flame goes right up under me.
And his skin is bubbling like on the Toxic Avenger.
When Behind the Music continues. In 1983, Metallica had moved to San Francisco to join forces with eccentric bass genius Cliff Burton. At that time, a brisk underground trade in tape cassettes kept metal fans up on the latest hot bands.
A band that would never play once would get famous around the world within a few months just from the copies of their demo getting around all around the world.
When Lars circulated Metallica's 7-song demo, No Life Till Leather, the band became an underground sensation.
That they had this huge, giant following before they even really had a record out.
Metallica's demo wound up in the hands of Johnny and Marcia Zazula, who ran a music flea market in New Jersey called Rock and Roll Heaven. It was the East Coast capital of the growing metal movement.
Metallica was the answer to America's prayers. They were the first band we heard that really made America look good.
They gave the American headbanger something to hang their hat on.
Johnny Z offered to manage Metallica and to secure them a recording deal.
So we come out to New York and we meet this guy who was giving us, $75 to drive across the country. It's like, hi, we're Metallica. Hi, I'm Johnny Z. Well, John, come here. Well, you see the guy with the Dave Mustaine? We're actually going to get rid of him next week. Whoa.
That trip was very detrimental to my leaving the band. When we would get drunk, they would get silly and I would get really violent. And violent people and silly people don't mix when they're inebriated.
They came to the East Coast, hungry with a goal and a mission. We were ready to guide their career. We had shows for them, but we were not people of means. And they wanted to rehearse, and they wanted to play. But we said, what are we going to do? So Anthrax had a little rehearsal place in Queens.
We set him up with a room at this place, the Music Building in Jamaica, Queens, which was basically what would be now considered like a crack house.
We had the added luxury of also living there because we couldn't afford to live anywhere else.
We had a toaster oven and an igloo cooler that we lived out of, all four of us in this place.
On a good day, we would sneak down to a local McDonald's. On a bad day,
it was loser's lunch, we called it. It was bologna on hand because they didn't even have white bread. I mean, nothing.
We were sleeping on U-Haul blankets. You know, that was us. And we all got up early one morning and walked into the other room where Dave was sleeping. And
shake, shake, shake. Dave wakes up and rolls over. And what's going on, guys?
I look up and I see the four of them. They said, "You're out of the band." And I said, "What? No warning? No second chance?"
The famous line, "Dave, you're out of the band. When's my plane leave?"
You're spending the next 4 days on a Greyhound bus that leaves in 45 minutes to pack your together and let's go to the bus station before you even know what hit you. And that was that.
No sooner had Dave Mustaine boarded a bus than Kirk Hammett arrived in New York to audition for the band.
I walked in, and those guys were sleeping. And I looked at my watch, and it was like 6 o'clock at night, and they were just getting up. And I was thinking, how rock and roll.
The first song we played was Seek and Destroy. And Kirk pulled off this solo. It was like, things are going to be all right, man.
And we went to the studio and recorded Kill 'Em All. From then on, I thought, well, I guess I'm in the band.
We parlayed everything we had to make this Kill 'Em All record. We thought this was an amazing record. It was a classic.
We have a debut album out on Megapush Records. It's called Kill 'Em All. We're glad to kill all you tonight. Who wants this?
The international metal underground was primed for Metallica's first album, Kill 'Em All, and sales soared to over 300,000. The band toured Europe and America for most of 1983, supporting the album and widening their audience.
They lived it, they breathed it, they slept it, metal. And the kids did the same exact thing.
We were very proud that we were four regular guys in street clothes getting up there and jamming.
Why should we change? We're on stage. You know, we're not trying to be something big and fancy, you know. It's just us doing what we do. Let's keep it that way.
Coming up, a deadly crash shakes the band to its core.
The sound of screeching brakes and being flipped around like a piece of clothes in a dryer.
Then, an explosion nearly blows away Metallica's future.
I'm going, oh my God, it's over. Oh my God, our band is done.
And later, the mayhem in Montreal.
People just storming into the grandstands and destroying everything.
Turning over cop cars, burning everything in sight.
When Behind the Music continues. In 1984, the new American metal scene had found a champion in Metallica. When the band's second album, Ride the Lightning, was picked up by Elektra Records, it quickly went gold.
Because of the buzz that they'd created live, it just worked out perfectly for Elektra. So it was one of those things that felt like a no-brainer. Just we put out the record, and because of word of mouth, kids just started buying it.
On the road, Metallica's unabashed love of alcohol became the stuff of legend. So much so, the press took to calling them
Alcoholica.
Alcoholica.
Alcoholica justified, absolutely.
It basically grew out of our love for vodka.
They were never a drug band. They were never, you know, like the American bands all want to get high. They like to drink.
We had discovered this lovely after-dinner drink called Jägermeister. There was a certain opiate in it that got you extremely violent.
You'd have people like literally walking into walls, taking the